Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 11 of social media marketing. And this week, we're going to be focusing on two different platforms. We're going to focus on Twitter, or X, it is as it is now called, and Snapchat. And there's a reason that these two platforms go together in one module. We're being intentional here, just like you need to be with your marketing. It is because these two platforms have a sort of similar vibe and they reach a similar audience. Both of these platforms are very real, they're very raw, they're kind of laid back, but also edgy. They feel very now, sometimes a bit flippant, even. When you start thinking about photo images for Snapchat, they are really the opposite of what we talked about for Instagram, where Instagram is very polished and a bit professional. Snapchat content tends to look like it was just randomly snapped. And you need to work towards that, honestly, if you want to market on that platform. Even if you spend several hours setting up your random snap, it needs to have that real and raw and right now feel, because that is who is on those platforms. It's not exclusively for younger people, but you're not going to see as many of the older generation on those two platforms as you do younger people. One thing to consider, and I do not mean to discourage either one of these platforms, but if you're going to market on these platforms, you need to know that you're pretty much required to be very present on these platforms in order to have effective marketing. Most of the Twitter research I did recommended that if you're going to try to market on it, that you need to be sure you're on there tweeting at least 1 to 5 times a day. And they recommend 5 over 1. So again, I don't mean that to discourage you, because these can be great marketing tools, especially for a younger demographic. But you just need to add that to the things you consider, along with all the other things we've talked about, when you're deciding what platforms to market on. And you might be very careful about maybe considering marketing on both of them, because that might become a lot to keep up with. So just really pay attention, see what your demographic is, see if this is your demographic, and then for sure go with it if you feel like it's the best decision for your business. And now right here, before we move into the discussion of the assignments, I'm going to veer off topic a little bit and use this whole Twitter X thing as a little bit of a marketing lesson. And now I may not should speak to this because I don't really know what precipitated the change from Twitter to X. But I will tell you, if it was a marketing ploy, it wasn't a great one. It was a little bit of an ineffective one, because there's a reason that the module is named Twitter parentheses X. It's because when you say X, people don't automatically snap to what you're talking about. But if you say Twitter, everyone knows what Twitter is. There is an old adage, been around forever: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that applies in business and marketing. So think about that. We absolutely need to make changes when changes are necessary. We need to stay relevant. We need to stay on trend. But just like we talked about, if you were going to change something in your branding manual, there needed to be a reason. There needs to be a reason for change in marketing, not just change for change. Because if you change too quickly and without a clear thought out plan, then you may lose customers because they just lose you. They don't see you anymore because they're looking for what they are used to you being. So just bear that in mind as you do your own marketing. Take it from a woman who is old enough to have had a can of new Coke. Sometimes change is not good. Okay? Now, you do have 2 assignments this week, and I know every time you see that, it feels a little intimidating, but neither of these assignments are super difficult. You need to create a Twitter post, either actual on Twitter or in Canva. You can create any type of Twitter content that you choose, but this content needs to pull from the entertainment bucket, because we don't need to forget about our buckets and the way we categorize different things. And it needs to include one hashtag. Hashtag is what made Twitter famous. That was marketing genius. Since I said something negative, let me say something positive. The hashtag was marketing genius. It is what really made Twitter explode, and you need to borrow that bit of marketing genius anytime you can. So this post needs to be on brand, as always. It needs to include a hashtag, and it needs to make me chuckle, or at least smile. But that's not a hard thing to do. Don't worry about it. But that's what we're going with. Entertainment bucket, hashtag on brand. Now, the Snapchat assignment is going to be turned in by everyone on the discussion board. Do not post directly on Snapchat because those things go away, and I don't want somebody to have something set wrong and then I can't see it when I get ready to grade it. So please do not post your work directly on Snapchat. Well, you can, but bring it to me a different way. And for this one, everyone needs to create or turn in a photo or image, not copyrighted, please, photo or image that is either original or pulled from Canva that they could use on Snapchat to market their business. There are no restrictions again on what type of marketing this needs to be. It just needs to be appropriate for Snapchat, which is basically, remember, the opposite of the type of photo you would put together for Instagram. This is a different type of photo, so bear that in mind. I want to see that you understand the difference between the two platforms and what that content needs to look like. Now, if you want to take it further, you can just turn in a picture if that's what you want to do, as long as it's on brand. But if you want to add filters or text, you can upload your photo into Canva, and there's lots of different options for working with it there that sort of mirror and are similar to what you could see on Snapchat. They're not going to be exact, but it can be close enough that you can get a close facsimile of what you could do on Snapchat. And as always, you need to respond kindly and positively to one classmate's content. Okay, guys, this should be a fun week. Don't take these too seriously, because if you're taking it too seriously, you're doing the opposite of Twitter and Snapchat. Okay, so have fun with this one. Good luck with it, and I will see you in week 12.